Ever feel like you're just staring at the charts and nothing's happening? Like the market is just stuck in neutral? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful way to think about investing, especially when things feel slow. It all comes down to a simple idea. There are basically two worlds you can choose to invest in. And believe me, the one you pick makes all the difference. So let's just get right into it with this quote, because it really hits the nail on the head. Not gonna lie, this end of year is kind of boring. And a lot of investors are feeling this right now. It doesn't matter if you're watching Bitcoin or whatever. There's just this feeling that everything's flat. All that excitement we were hoping for, it just kind of fizzled. And look, it's not just a vibe or a feeling. There are some real concrete reasons why the market has failed to get going. So let's actually break down why things have felt so boring lately. Okay, so take a look at this. First, we had that MicroStrategy Bitcoin purchase. People were expecting something big, but it ended up being what some called a baby buy, $108 million, which, is a lot of money, but not the huge splash everyone hoped for. On top of that, the yield they were expecting didn't quite hit the mark. And then there's Bitcoin's price itself. It's just been chopping around, almost acting like a stablecoin. You see these really repetitive, almost manipulative trading patterns that just suck all the energy out of the market. It's predictable, and yeah, it's dull. All right, so things are boring. We've established that. But here's where things get really interesting. The core argument from our source material is that all of this short-term feeling of boredom, is totally, completely irrelevant. Seriously. For a real investment strategy, none of it matters. At all. So how can it not matter? I mean, it feels like it matters, right? Well, to get why, you have to understand that as an investor, you're living in one of two very different worlds. And these two worlds are constantly at war with each other, pushing and pulling you in opposite directions. And this right here, this is the whole game. On the left, you've got the world of clicks. This is the world of cable news, Twitter, all that stuff. It's all about the short term. Information that's hot today is gone tomorrow. It creates this constant buzz and thud cycle. It's all about living in the moment. Then on the right, you have the world of data. This place is totally different. It's all about the long term. It's thesis-driven. You're not living in the moment, you're living in the trend. So that world of clicks, it's obsessed with these little momentary wins. You'll see a headline screaming that GM's stock beat Tesla for one day, or that silver had a great week. It's designed to grab your attention, get that click, and create some buzz. But that's all it is. It's a snapshot with zero context, and the information is basically worthless by tomorrow. Okay, so enough about that world of noise. Let's step over to the other side. Let's talk about the world of data and focusing on the long run and see what kind of strategy that actually builds. And the philosophy here is brutally simple. It's right there in the quote. Short-term doesn't matter at all. If you're going to live in this world, you have to let go of the day-to-day, the week-to-week, even the year-to-year swings. All of that is just noise. The only thing that actually matters is the long run. And we need to be really clear about what long run means here. We're not talking about a year. We're talking about 5 years, minimum. According to this philosophy, that's the absolute baseline for even beginning to measure performance. Anything less than 5 years, you guessed it, it's just noise. So, let's put this to the test. Let's actually look at some hard data and see how it completely demolishes the narratives that get built up by all that media hype. Okay, remember that GM is beating Tesla headline we talked about? The perfect example of a short-term story. Well, here's the long-term data. Over 15 years, GM's average annual return has been about 8%. Not bad. But look at Tesla. Over that same period, it's averaged 43% per year. 43%! You see how the long-run data tells a completely different and much more important story. And it's the exact same story with other assets. Let's take silver, which might get some hype for having a good run. Over 10 years, it's returned about 15% annually, on average. That's a solid return. But when you compare it to a Bitcoin proxy over that same decade, that's 59% a year. It's not even in the same league. The data just cuts right through the hype. And this is the world our source is talking about. It's a world where the data dictates your strategy, not the daily news cycle. It's a choice you have to make. Are you going to let your strategy be driven by performance data or by headlines designed to get you to click? All right, so if you choose the world of data, what does that actually mean? What's the plan? What do you do? Well, the strategy itself is incredibly simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. And here it is. The thesis, the plan, it all comes down to one word: patience. It's about trusting the long-run performance of the asset you believe in. The source mentions waiting for a specific metric called stretch to rise, and we don't need to get into the weeds on that. But the big idea is that you have your plan, you have your metrics, and you just wait. You wait for the right conditions to emerge, trusting your long-term view. So really, the whole belief system is that for assets like Bitcoin and companies like MicroStrategy, this boring period we're in right now, it's temporary. It's just a phase. You have to have the conviction, based on the data, that over time, these assets will do what they've always done: recover and perform. And that really brings us to the final question, the one you have to ask yourself. In which world are you going to invest? Are you going to live in the world of clicks with all its daily drama and anxiety? Or are you going to choose the world of data, which requires patience but is built on a foundation of long-term trends? It's your call to make.